We're live. How are we going, epic people? I hope you're well. We've got another awesome interview. One of the epic speakers that we're going to have this weekend at the Global Freedom Rally. We've got speakers from all over the world coming to you talking about some amazing topics. If you haven't secured your ticket yet, head on over. Link in my bio or go to www.globalfreedomrally.com. And today we have the legend, Bobby Sausalito, coming all the way from the US. Looking forward to you meeting him. We're starting. Here he is. Yo.
What's going on, man?
How are you, brother? You well?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. As good as I can be in the world that we're in, but yeah, very well. How about yourself?
Absolutely, man. Look, I know you're so busy, dude, so thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
Mate, tell me, I'm interested. Well, first of all, thanks for speaking at the event. Can't wait to have you on there. I've been following your stuff for a while now, man. I really enjoy the energy, the tone, the comedic side at times as well, which is awesome. So everybody watching, if you don't know who Bobby Sausalito is, comedian, political commentary, and so much more. But how did you get into this, man?
Well, I wanted to make funny videos, but I didn't know exactly which direction I would go in. I happened to make a very political video the first night after the DNC in 2020, and it was kind of like the hot topic of the moment. And I was just so frustrated by what was going on that it kind of boiled over, and I was like, I have to say something. And I didn't really think much of it. And the next morning I woke up and it had 65,000 views when I only had 1,000 followers. And I started picking up followers like 1,000, 2,000 a day. And I thought to myself, obviously this type of content is what people want right now, so I'm just going to keep making videos till the election and see what happens. And by the time the election came around, I was at 25,000. By the time Sleepy Joe got in January, I was up to over 30,000, and here we are now at almost 87,000.
It's awesome, man. I mean, obviously you're doing something right, but I think right now, and I've said this many times on these sessions, it's so important. I mean, you are almost independent media, or you are exactly that. And I think right now it's so important that we have more of that with level-headed people that have a balanced view, because unfortunately, I mean, I don't know what it's like in the US, but I know here for sure that the media is absolutely one side. It's completely bought. And unfortunately, if we didn't have independence and the independent media out there doing what they do, we would know absolutely nothing of what's actually happening. So, man, again, good on you, and it's needed right now.
Thank you. No, you're absolutely right. And that's the thing, is like the severity of the moment, and the fact that we happen to be able to distribute that message before they started suppressing it is remarkable. And you're absolutely right. The true nature of a story is crowdsourced now. You can get 50 camera angles of what's going on, and real people can report on the news much faster than the mainstream can. And without it, it's almost like, how would you ever get the truth, especially in a situation where everybody was locked at home and you couldn't even go out and socialize? It's like you would be stuck at home watching one of 7 channels which have been run through and picked and chosen. You'd be completely in the dark. So thank God that each of us can contribute our own little effort. And without it, you'd be screwed.
Exactly. You know, a really good example of this, I don't know if you saw this in the US, but with one of the illegal protests that we had here, when we had these intense lockdowns, there was obviously media on the ground, and then a lot of independents and the average person. Now, the way the media was twisting, of course, the protest was that it was all neo-Nazi man babies, violent, angry young men. They were all paid to be there and bash police and everything. And then there was one specific shot where this police officer on a horse was next to a guy, and the shot was of a guy punching this horse in the face. And of course, the media shot this horse, this photo of this guy punching a horse, put it all over the news. Everyone, animal cruelty, everyone's going off about this disgusting human punching a horse. And then we see a civilian show the real video, and the real video is of the police officer doing like 360s aggressively into the crowd, and the guy's actually pushing the horse's head away because he's been almost attacked by this police horse. And it was just such an awesome example, an extraordinary example of how independent media and individuals can really show and share the truth when a one-sided view, when they knew what actually happened, but they chose to demonize and potentially destroy this guy's life, or immediate life anyway. You know, it just shows you the importance of what's happening here, because unfortunately, look, I have never been into politics. I have never really given it much thought, because I have been blessed to live in such a comfortable and, you know, a comfortable country, and it's been fine up until now. But right now, we've really seen how severe the issue is and how important, you know, again, people like you and independents are, and also discussing these topics.
Yeah, it's crazy, because here's the thing, is that I think that the vast majority of people don't want to do something that they feel that they don't need to do. They want to subcontract out every part of their life that they can. It's like, all right, some guy's going to cut the lawn, and this guy's going to manage my money, and this guy's going to do this for me. I'm going to have a mate that cleans the house, whatever. And they're subcontracting out their discernment of what reality actually is. And they're just like, well, the news will figure it out, or somebody else will tell me. And any person that's trying to encroach on your mental ability to be aware of what's going on knows that. So they're just like, all we have to do is find the 5 sources that go into their mind that they know, like, and trust, and just infiltrate those sources. And if we can control those sources, we can control the way that everybody thinks. And they figured out how to slowly but systematically secure those methods of entry, those information points, and secure them over a long period of time. That's the book publishers, that's the mainstream news outlets, that's the movie production studios, that's all of the mainstream corporations. They understand that there's this one inroad of information, and if they can figure out how to control that, they can essentially control how most of the population feels about something. Then on top of that, they understand how to emotionally manipulate people, and that people are inherently tribal. So they realize that if people just see other people in their social circle say, this is what it is, they know that the vast majority of people will be like, yeah, that must be what it is. And then the court of public opinion rules on every single thing without having an individual have to discern what is right and what is wrong. And because of that reason, it leaves us completely exposed to a great amount of manipulation, where they can ruin somebody's life. The shot can be heard around the world, and then when the truth comes out, people are already way down the line. They've already made their decision. And that is a huge danger and a threat going forward. And most people fail to even do a little bit of research to recognize it.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. You know, one of those challenges is people's lack of energy towards investigating, reading, doing any sort of their own research. You know, I think up until this point, a lot of Australians anyway, speaking about my country, they have been very reliant on news and trusted the government and the news sources so much. And in fact, I did. And it wasn't really until the last 12, 24 months that where we blatantly saw just absolute lies over and over again, where I thought, wow, this is a really bad spot. We need to change this. We need to do something about this. And look, to be honest, the independents over here at the moment, you've got incredible guys like Rukshan and Avi at Rebel News and a few other guys. Now, they are getting like 20, I think one of their live streams was like 60,000 views of the live of the protests and what's happening. And mainstream cannot keep up with that. They're absolutely on the decline, and people want to know the real news and the real truth and the real conversation, because we've almost been barred from having a civil discussion these days. We're not allowed to talk about anything that goes against the grain. Have you noticed something similar in the US?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. And like, it's one of a variety of reasons why I feel like I have to speak in code in a lot of ways. This is just like, if you say the other side of how the court of public opinion rules, you'll be suppressed. And people fail to kind of recognize that we only have a few amount of distribution points for our own individual voices. And those are all controlled by a very small, close-knit group of people that are kind of falling into the same path as all of the mainstream media outlets are. But the truth is being done by your everyday people, and they hate that because it's really the only way that your average everyday person will get the truth. And the thing that's so crazy is when you start to really pay attention and look into this over a long period of time, like I've been doing the last 14 months, more than I already did before, is that they demonize even questioning it. They're just like, they're like independent. They're like, oh, you do your research? What are you, some type of crazy? It's like, could you imagine the emotional manipulation and the power that they have to be able to demonize you looking into it yourself? And people are like, oh, what do you do your own research? It's like, yeah, dude, that's exactly what everybody needs to do. This needs to be part of your daily life, and it's inconvenient, like most good things, like most good objectives are. It's like, if you want to be healthier, people don't want to go to the gym. People want to go to the gym because they understand that it's necessary for them to live a better life. They understand that through difficulty comes great success. And that's the same thing about understanding how to be free, remain free, and essentially be a patriot fighting for liberty, not just in your own country, but around the world. It takes the time and effort necessary to do that research and pay attention. And because most people don't, that's why we're in this mess. If more people found it necessary as knowing what to eat and how to exercise and how to protect yourself, then the world would be a better place if more people simply just paid attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny the tone and like you said, the approach that's taken with people that actually care about their country or care about current issues. You know, again, when was it a crime, or when did it become selfish and bad to be a patriot, to love your country, to want positive change, to want a balanced debate in Parliament and democracy to be truthful and real? Like, again, these are all things that most of us have grown up believing was just, that's the way it was anyway. And now that we find there's cracks and we want that to be the reality, we seem to be the fools or the bad guys. And it's just been very interesting. But on a positive note, I don't know what it's like in the US, but I'm telling you, in the last few weeks here, we've seen a massive shift culturally, I believe anyway, where people were very scared to speak up. I've been talking up for a while now, copped a lot of shit for it. But now people are really starting to have enough. And more people are starting to stand and raise and share their voice and share their concerns. We had over 100,000 people protest in Melbourne on the weekend, and it was magnificent. And then this weekend, we've got the online global rally, which you're on with us here. And then we have huge rallies in each state of Australia too. So, you know, I feel a bit of a movement, a bit of a shift. What's it like over in the US? Is it similar?
Yeah, and one thing that I've said many times throughout my journey where my voice has been broadcast further and wider than ever is that I think that we all grossly underestimate our capacity to influence large quantities of people, even your everyday person with one follower, no followers. It's like people see courage in whatever form it takes. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some type of hero. I'm just doing something that I believe needs to be done, that I believe is a duty that I have to the world. I saw something that presented an opportunity to do something that I felt was right, so I did it. I think that we all grossly underestimate the power that we have as individuals to influence large quantities of people. If you even change your behavior or change a conversation that you have in a social situation with just two people, and those two people tell two people, it could only take a month before that ripples out to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And online, for example, you see this exponential growth in distribution of thought because people recognize the truth, especially over time when you make a post and cement it there. Someone could see that post 6 months from now. That one person could have 100,000 followers, and one of their followers could have 10 million followers. So the single idea of you just taking a basic stand about a basic piece of information could be distributed to tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people, especially if the message is needed and correct. So I think that's what people are realizing. It's like your micro influencer accounts, your accounts that have 1,000 followers like I did, that got 60,000 views overnight. And since that point, you're talking tens of millions of views came because 1 to 5 people thought that my first 2-minute video was worth other people hearing. And that's amassed to tens of millions of views now, and will continue to do so and snowball over time. It's like all I had was one thought one day, and here it is 10, 20 million times. And it's just like people grossly underestimate their own power. And if more people did that, a lot of things would change.
I love that, man. And that is so true. This is one thing I've had some great conversations with senators and other members of parliament, politicians here from the independent parties that are really, really going hard at the moment with the larger parties to try to overrule what's happening. And one of the main things that we were discussing was, you know, why as Australians have not more stood up against the lockdowns and the tyranny and our rights being stripped and the abuse of powers. And I really think it comes down to what you've just said, where not enough of us know the power of our single voice. Not enough believe in ourselves that we have the power to do anything. Because I'd have conversations with people and they'd be like, what can we do? There's nothing we can do. Let's just suck it up and it'll be over soon. And, you know, there's nothing we can fucking do about it. Whatever, hands up. And my view always was, no, there's always a way. There's always a fucking a solution. And if you can just reach 5 people, as you've said, you're making an impact. And so for everybody watching, I think it's a great example. Your story is such a great example of, if you believe enough in yourself and your idea and just stating a question or a view, you can influence 1, 2, 3, eventually hundreds of thousands of people. And that's where political change comes from, because the governments work for us. That's what democracy is. And if you want to see things shift in the US and Australia and any Western society where democracy reigns free, hopefully, then you need to speak up and give a shit about what you're doing and what's actually happening.
Yep. No, that's absolutely right. People think that A, that the people don't have a real voice, or B, that the only way to effectuate change is at the voting booth. And in a lot of ways, the voting booth is certainly extremely valuable, but people underestimate mass discourse. It's like there have been a lot of times in history where the general public opinion has persuaded people to then run for office that represent that opinion, or for things to change overnight when they're so obviously wrong. And it's like, you don't have to have it put to a vote for it to be obvious that a change needs to be made. And that's the thing, is that you don't have to wait until your political decision is in office. You don't have to wait until they propose some bill. You just have to get everybody to start speaking up and taking a stand for it in more ways than one. And a lot of things can change really quickly when kind of the court of public opinion feels some type of way, which is why they're so interested in having a stranglehold over it, because people are inherently tribal. They want to be on the right side of things. Nobody wants to lose. Everybody is going to kind of look at what the 100 people around them are doing, and they're just going to default to that. And it's generally because it's like if only people could realize that their capacity for greatness is limitless. And if they could realize that you either believe that you're great or you don't. There is no middle of the road. You have a high capacity for greatness, or you're just another NPC. You're another lemming. You're just another drone. I'm just trying to live. Leave me alone. And that's all there is. It's like, the greatness that you could cause, leave the world a better place, is something that's within all of us. And it doesn't have to be, I run for president. It could be, I just change the lives of the people in my immediate circle, or my community, or whatever, my block, my street. But it's like, you either believe that you have that capacity or you don't. And my message, and I think so many other people's messages is like, if you could understand that you have this limitless capacity for greatness, so many things would change. If we were less tribal and more independent, and knowing that we can be the greatest version of ourselves right now, then so many things would change from purely that belief alone.
Yeah, so true, bro. And I think that you know, the lack of that stems from fear, doesn't it? And really what we've seen over the last 2 years is hyper fear just spread like, I mean, the real disease, the real pandemic was fear. I mean, when you look at the stats, that
100%.
was what was fueling every wrong decision here, and every blanket legislation and every blanket mandate that's happening. And of course, this is why so many people are not looking through the lens of logic and reason, and just hyper emotion because of this fear factor. And when you are living in such a scared mindset all of the time, such a scarcity mindset, your behavior will reflect that. And what we've seen is a global reflection of hyper fear. And unfortunately, you know, I mean, this is such a deep topic because it stems from somewhere way further than the last 2 years. But I just feel like the last 10 years as a society, both in the US and Australia, we seem to be, you know, living in such great conditions, but yet we are very easily manipulated and quite naive in order because we've had it so easy, and we are getting, I believe we're getting mentally and emotionally weaker as things get easier. What's your thoughts on how fear has gone rampant, and I guess the strength, the mental and emotional strength of society these days?
Yeah, I think that it is a pervasive issue that has only been magnified as a result of this situation. And it's kind of like the self-doubt. It's kind of like self-doubt blanketing most of the world. If you, as I'm sure you have, if you research successful people, like, there's a few things that they all say. Each of them have their own interpretation of what's the path to success, the thing that worked for them. But they generally all say several things that are always consistent, which is just like, believe in yourself unequivocally that you can do it no matter what. It's like, recognize your own power and that no one's going to save you but you. You are essentially driving the bus to whatever your destiny may be. It's completely and totally in your control. And I think that so many people find themselves bombarded by external sources that they don't spend enough time in introspective thought. I talk about that a lot. It's like the thing that really unlocked what I believe was my magic was doing a tremendous amount of introspective thought. I remember one time my late brother told me, he was just like, you can find all the happiness you need within yourself. And it was something that I thought about so much, because my initial visceral reaction to that is like, what do you mean? I need friends and I need this and I need that. And I was trying to understand what he actually meant. And what he was saying is just that, like, your own destiny and all that you have, all of your capacity can be self-started, self-sustained, and self-executed. You are ultimately the driving force of all the good and or bad that can come into your life. And you have to choose how you're going to react to each individual moment. And I think that the message of individual power and taking time to look and analyze not only what you do and what you say, but what you think about, can change so much in somebody's life. And all of us are looking to these external sources. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't know better. Let me look to the experts. And everybody's bombarding us with this idea where only the experts know, when in a lot of times the experts are no better at it than anybody else. And on top of that, if you look at it from more of like an existential view, it's just like, nobody knows what happens when you die, but lots of people will tell you what happens when you die. Nobody knows what the truth is. Nobody knows what this even is. No one knows, but we're not in a simulation in a video game far in the future where the switch is, don't let me know I'm in the video game I create until I finish, and let's see what I do there. So nobody knows what this really is. And I think that that's kind of baked into the cake of life, is that no one can know, which means that your ability to comprehend what the world is and what your place in it is entirely self-contained. And you can determine your path and your purpose in this experience to the highest amount that you can imagine. It's like you're only capped by what you believe your capacity is. And it's just like every single person that's done tremendously great things has all believed that where they were right now was nowhere in comparison to where they could get. And they believed that until the day that they died. And that's why we remember them and we don't remember so many others.
I love that. I love that. And from a personal development perspective, I mean, think about this. Imagine if majority of people didn't have that fear of rejection or judgment. The outcomes and what we tolerated through this period would be completely different, because man, I know a lot of very smart people, a lot of very successful people. All of them from the start, as I've been discussing and talking with them, have said, call bullshit on this, call bullshit on the stats, call bullshit on so many points on the overreach. But not many actually spoke up about it because of that fear of cancel culture, judgment, criticism, rejection. I mean, it all stems from the same place. But just imagine if we had a surge of evolution in personal development and growth in all of us. We would not have tolerated this absolute bullshit. Our businesses would not have been affected. The mental health of so many would not be affected. Lives wouldn't have been lost. So much more. And I think that, you know, again, there's so many levels to this, but if we peel the onion back, like we've just discussed, it starts in here, doesn't it? It starts with your mind and your heart and your own evolution and growth, and that self-analysis around your own code, your own values, what you stand for, what you won't tolerate, and also looking at what your fears are, and are they logic or are they not?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, one of the kind of sentences that always sticks with me is from my friend Andy Frisella, and he's just like, you have to dominate your inner bitch voice. And there's so many things in life that, and there's this other great quote from Tony Horton, the guy that created P90X, the workout program. He's just like, excuses are self-imposed obstacles that prevent you from having a better life. And we all create these excuses for why we can't do anything as an internal justification for inaction, for the I can't because of blank. And we dismiss our own power constantly. And that defeating and battling your inner bitch voice is an all day, every day, for the rest of your life type thing. People that are in peak physical shape want to eat a donut just as much as anybody else, but they figured out how to control and dominate that voice. And on the other side of fear is all of the greatest things that could ever be. And it doesn't mean that you will live without fear, but it means that you will drive and persevere through it and beyond it, because there is more fear coming your way. It's a certainty, it's a guarantee, and in a lot of ways, it's an essential building block of your continued evolution. Without it, you have nothing. You would just be you'd be at homeostasis and you would have no challenge. There would be no reason to get better. So it's like, I've said this before, it's like the internal is where all of these problems will be solved. It's inside the hearts and minds of the most people in the world that will change far more than getting this politician or this theoretical leader to represent you on your behalf. It's like, hold this up, make this operating at peak shape, and then everything else falls in line. It's kind of like when you exercise, you feel better about how you look. When you feel better about how you look, you feel better in social situations. When you feel better in social situations, you make more friends. When you make more friends, you meet more potential partners and relationships. When you have more partners and relationships, you somehow do and speak better in business. You execute more efficiently. They're all tied together. It's like introspective thought and dominating the inner bitch voice 24/7, 365 is the game. It's the solution to all the world's problems, and yet we constantly look for these externals that we have to solve. Oh, but it's the big banksters, or oh, it's the international such and such cartel that runs the planet, or oh, it's the people at CNN. It's like, nah, it's mostly this. Those people are firing in, and people are accepting it. The free market dictates that that things only sell because people buy them. These things exist because people are willing to consume them. If everybody didn't eat McDonald's, then there would be no McDonald's. If people didn't want to eat fries, they wouldn't sell fries. So it's just like, the reason this is happening is because people are willing to accept it. And in all aspects of life, your willingness to accept anything lower than peak greatness consistently and improving, escalating forever is the only reason why any bad things happen in any aspect of your life. And if more people understood this basic fact, and if more people simply change the minds of one person, the ripple effects, not only in this current life and the people that are here today, but throughout humanity going forward, would be exponential beyond what most of us can even conceive. It's like, imagine if you changed one person's life right now and they're 24. Imagine if that person became a titan of media. Imagine if that person became the president of the United States of America 40 years from now, and you changed one thing in their mind that changed the course of their direction in life. You would have essentially affected not only the people living that are hearing that voice, but all the people that would see all the content that they emblazoned into the ether of life till the end of time. We're still thinking about stuff that Abraham Lincoln said, that George Washington said. That's epic multi-generational, global, humanity-changing, massive evolution. And these people put on their pants one leg at a time like everybody else. And we still talk about them to this day. So if you don't believe that you can't get to that level, you won't.
I love that, man. I'm fucking feeling motivated. This is awesome. But dude, it's so true. Like your goals, your dreams, don't give a shit how you feel. And so it is always that inner voice that we need to overcome. And also to the point of everybody accepting and going along with the so-called way. You know, you're being affected, we're being affected at the moment with these mandates across the board. And they would not be enforced if we did not agree with them. And this is, again, goes to each individual, where we can vote with our money, we can vote with our actions, we can vote with our behavior. And so, again, if you're watching, have more faith in yourself. And yes, embrace the struggle and embrace the pain and vote. If you do not want to accept mandates, then do not, you know, go to places where they are segregating people and kicking people out, etc. There's ways around this. Now, I want to ask you about the mandates because, look, at the US, you guys are like our bigger, older brother, and we often anything that happens there filters down here. And of course, at a global level, when we're looking at the global powers, etc., when, you know, the US is weak, China's stronger, and vice versa. And so I think it is important that we all understand how each of our nations is working. And I know at the moment, you guys have been pushed with mandates, as are we. We're getting hit very hard right now. It's getting intense, actually. But I also noticed in the news that you had a court stop the mandates or pause them, and then from what I've read, the White House has overruled them and said, no, we're going ahead anyway. What's happening? What's going on with this? Is that against the law? Tell me more.
Well, they actually, from what I understand, they didn't overrule it. They just told businesses to continue doing it, which is outside of what the law actually says. So they're just saying, like, yeah, no, keep doing it. But one thing that I wanted to touch on, which I had in my mind before, is to kind of wrap up the last thing that we were just talking about, is that I believe it's, and I hope I don't quote this wrong, but I believe it's quantum physics or maybe it's not quantum physics, doesn't even matter. When a thought is created in your mind, it becomes an actual physical thing that exists in real life. It becomes like a pulse. You can see it. It's trackable. It's an actual thing that exists in real life. Simply a thought. It starts to travel around in your brain. Every single thing that's ever happened in the history of time began first as a thought. Yet we underestimate the thoughts that process through our head on a daily basis. It's like if you're watching TV and you're absent of thought versus if you're listening to a podcast and you're thinking up new ideas or you're thinking about how to get better. Yeah. All of that productive mental time is creating the future of your life and, in theory, the world of tomorrow. All things are created as thoughts. And if we could just take more of a mental audit and inventory of what's going on in your thoughts, it would change a lot of the ways that you behave. So I just wanted to say that. Now, as far as the mandates and whatnot are concerned, yeah, they basically said that even though this particular court struck it down in this particular instance, you should go ahead and continue on with them anyways. In a lot of ways, we're seeing them act outside of the law in so many different ways. The problem is that who is to hold them accountable? The only remaining body of anything to hold any of these people accountable is the general zeitgeist of the people. That's the only accountability that still remains. The Department of Justice is in the bag, and all of these other institutions are all bought and paid for, or they're financed by some entity that wants them to sway one way or the other. So they're acting very lawless. They're using executive orders well beyond what their original purpose was, signing more executive orders than anybody faster than ever, and ruling by decree. And because everybody is so woefully or willfully unaware to the basic happenings or goings on of the world that actually affects them, they're able to just pass these things right on by. Yeah. All of these explosive stories are not only more than obvious, but they're distributed and then suppressed. So it's like you have to really go looking for it. And the people that take the time to go look for it, those people get demonized for even looking for it.
Yeah.
So it's just that I try to keep it very, very simple, where it's just like, if you just paid 1 hour of attention more a week than you do right now and didn't get it from a mainstream source, but just went online and just did an hour of research, if every person did that, they would realize the ridiculous and audacious nature of how obvious and blatant all of this is. They know you won't look into it, so they just lie straight to your face.
Yeah, absolutely. And a great example of this is the division that jab, well, again, we've got to be careful with what we say on here, but the division that is creating, and the narrative that is created, that we need to do it for other people, this gaslighting and the manipulation, which I'm shocked and surprised at how many people are swallowing that and not asking questions and just believing that. Because again, even a bunch of recent studies have come out showing that whether you get it or not, the transmission of it is almost identical. So
Yep.
you still catch it, you still share it. So it's an individual choice. It has nothing to do with saving the world and saving your grandma and everybody else. And this is what a lot of these, people are doing in virtue signaling and pushing themselves to this higher level to then blame and ridicule others for their choice or hesitancy around certain things. And so I don't know your current stats over there. I thought last time I looked, it was like 55 or 60% were completely done. And over here, I think we're about 80%, which is a lot higher. But because of that, we have seen a lot of division across the board, and a lot of people, families, friends turning on each other. It's been really sad to see. Have you seen, I know you've got less, but have you seen similar divisive behavior and of course conflict within friends and family in the US?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is a global problem. This is happening amongst everybody in so many ways. But the thing that's so crazy about it too is that that's why I keep talking about like the mental audit and the audit of your time. Like if you were to really look at what you did during the day and over the course of a week, a month, a quarter, what you think about, who you talk to, what those people say to you, you realize that you have only a very finite amount of sources of information inbound to you that are then filtered through other people. And they're like, I heard, which means I saw on the news, or I heard another person say that they saw on the news, or their uncle told them, or whatever. And they are constantly bombarding you with the idea that everybody unanimously agrees that X is how people think about this. Yeah. And because people don't look into it, don't take the time to audit it, and don't want to be not in the tribe, it's so easy to manipulate the vast majority of people. It's like, if the president says it, if Don Lime says it, if Anderson Cooper says it, if your aunt says it, if every single person you know in your immediate social circle, which is really like 8 people, and all the jabronis at work say it, then that must be the case. If you are on the other side of the argument, now you're the odd man out. Now you're the weirdo. Now you're the extremist. Even if you believe that there could be something there, most people don't even have the social fortitude to say, I'm going to be on the other side of this. And I used to say this about Donnie back when he was running. It's like, for people to think, it's like, do you understand how much you have to convince yourself that Donnie or whoever people just generally believe is evil? How much convincing you have to do yourself to be on the other side of what is generally appeared to be the consensus? How you have to go way further than the person that agrees with everybody else. If you turn on the TV and they're like, anybody that thinks this is dumb, thinks this is wrong, is an extremist. You're like, okay, I don't want to be on that. Even if it's like, I don't even want to look into it because I don't want to. Because imagine if I realized the truth, then my soul wouldn't allow me to agree, and then I would have to be a fighter. I would have to be on the outside. I would have to be the opposition, which makes me in what appears to be a minority, which means that now I have to be on the defense or I have to be on the offense. And I don't want to do this. I just want to go to the bar with the guys. I just want to keep my job. I just want to do what I'm going to do. So it's so easy to be on that side. And they consistently and constantly bombard you with the idea that everybody believes this to be true, which is part of the grand manipulation that is controlled by media. The media, who controls the media controls the mind, and they know that. It's books, it's magazines, it's TV, it's radio, it's mainstream broadcasting. It's the president of the United States, for Christmas sake. The guy doesn't even know what he's doing. So it's like, they know that they got it all on lock. The only real discernment is by people that look beyond what is fed to them and take the time to do the research to understand the truth. Because those people understand that them knowing what's happening, really happening, is the only key that unlocks their perpetual freedom for life. We don't research this stuff because we just want to be unique. We know that freedom is in understanding the happenings and goings on of the world. You need to know money to have money. You need to have money to have freedom. You need to understand the economy, economics, and the political structure in order to be free. And everybody who sees this knows that. So it's just like, this is a requirement. We don't want to do this. You think we want to spend our night jabbing on here about how the world is trash? Of course not. But we feel a duty not only to ourselves, but to our soul, and call it the universe, whatever you want. That's like, if it's not me, then who? The least I could do is distribute the idea that you should have independent thought, you should think better, you should do more research. We're not even telling you what to think. We're just trying to show you how to think. And who would have thought that in and of itself would be a patriotic duty, the duty of the modern day. And that's what we're doing. We're doing it for no reason other than that, in my opinion.
Absolutely, 100% agree. And again, this is why discussions like this and the work that you do and the event that we're going to be speaking at on the weekend is important, because one of the missions behind the event was to get some of the most epic people that I could find, the smartest, the most good looking. No, Jake, of course you're a good looking bloke. But again, exactly. But all of the greatest people that I could find, doctors, scientists, lawyers, senators, anyone that is really on this point, and get them together so then everybody else who is feeling nervous about looking deeper or finding the strength to step up and research and get that fight that you've just described can look to where we are and start saying, okay, there's some dudes here. There's some people that understand what's happening. There are doctors, scientists, lawyers, politicians that have an opposing view. And this actually makes a lot more sense than what was happening. Then more people are going to rise and stand up. And I think that is so important right now. You've got some amazing friends like Andy Frisella. You mentioned one of them. What an absolute freaking legend and a warrior. Yeah. But again, it's like individuals like that are able then to give so many courage right now, because that's what's lacking at the end of the day. It's a lack of courage and self-belief, as we've discussed. And again, I think that united, we're going to be able to create such a positive change. This could be the best thing that ever happened to our countries if we fucking make it that way. And if more people get confident, understand how the game's played, know and believe in their moral compass as well. Because again, if you know what's right and wrong, but you're choosing wrong because it's a mandate rather than what you know is right, that is a conflict that needs to be resolved. And you need to understand what truth is within yourself and start making better decisions. Because for me, I'm looking at the laws, I'm looking at the mandates, and I'm going, inherently, there's something in me saying this is not freaking right on so many levels. And I'm not going to sit there and pretend it is just to make anyone else happy or so I don't have to feel uncomfortable and get in a fight about it. I welcome the fight because I know that it's the right thing to do right now. And I hope everyone is feeling the same way.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, and big on you for doing that. And it's like, you thought about it. You had a thought. Here it is put into motion. That's earth-shaking stuff. It's like you believed in it first. You put the first foot forward. You took step by step to make an effectuate change. And imagine how many people could be influenced by that. I want to share with the people this lesson that I learned, because I've gone to about 120 music festivals. And I specifically go to dance music festivals. I love dancing outside with people. It's like the most raw humanity there ever is. People are wearing crazy outfits. It's so much fun. It's one of my favorite things to do. One thing that I learned at music festivals, because I'm always trying to look for the social cues and the lessons in life, is when you first go to a music festival, your first one, you would look at somebody that was dancing and you'd think, man, like that dude's like really, really getting into it. Like I wish I felt that comfortable that I would do that. And some people will drink or they'll take something or whatever is the case. But what I realized after going to music festival after music festival is that if I'm in a crowd and nobody's really dancing, maybe they're just kind of swaying. If I just close my eyes, no one's even there. And if I'm feeling the music and I just start ripping and dancing, if I open my eyes a minute later, the people around me start to feel more comfortable to groove. They start to feel, they see you, and they're like, this guy's maybe a half a mile from the stage, and this dude is like going in. And it's like, if I was really feeling it and I was really dancing, all the people around me would dance more and more voraciously, and they would all be having more fun. And then all of a sudden, you would see this huge wave. And then this pocket where all these people were dancing would become the pocket. And people would start to encroach on that pocket and start dancing. And it's just like the singular action of a single person ripples through the psyche of people around you, even the most basic of actions. If I close my eyes and just dance, literally 25 people within 60 seconds have a better time. And that is real stuff. And I would challenge any person that goes to any music festival, if you just rip loose, people will notice you and they'll start to dance more because they understand that if someone can do it, then anyone can do it. It's like jumping off a cliff into water. Once the first guy goes, everyone will go. So it's just like, be the catalyst. Be the catalyst even in the most basic of ways. And the ripple effect is extremely profound and far beyond what any of us can even fathom.
Bobby, I love it, my man. And that's exactly what this event's going to be all about. And you are one of the awesome speakers at it, the Global Freedom Rally. Guys, if you're watching, it's this weekend, the Global Freedom Rally. You can get your free ticket at theglobalfreedomrally.com. Link is also in my bio. Mate, do you know what you're going to speak about yet? Obviously, there's lots that you could cover. Have you got something for us?
I think it's one of those things where it's going to be a game time decision. I've been thinking about it a lot, but I think that it will probably follow somewhere along the lines of what I've tried to say here today, where it's just like the underestimating of our individual power is the solution to this. Figuring out how to control and harness our own power and be the person that starts to dance will change everything around us and thus the entire game as a whole. If we all just took just the slightest bit of action, like you have, like I have, and like so many others have, the ripple effect is profound. And I do believe that the good guys win in the end. I do believe that this is a great test like all things are. And it's like, wouldn't it be interesting if the hands of time turned and later we looked back at this moment and said, if it weren't for that, then we wouldn't have had this. So it's just like, I always tell people, it's like, if you read the book of life looking backwards, it's like, it's what you're doing right now in the book. Is this its own chapter? Did you write this down? Or did it just go through like another month of time or another day of time? It's like, do stuff that would make the book of life. Do stuff that would make the book of time. And we have a better world.
I love that. I love that, Bobby. It's going to be awesome. Again, so good to have you on, my friend. I love your message, dude. I love everything that you've done, and I really appreciate you sticking your neck out and really stepping into the fire during this time, because we need more people doing that. So, my man, we'll see you on the weekend. It's going to be an absolute ripper, and it's an honor to have you on board.
Dude, so much to you as well, and thanks so much for doing it, and thanks to everybody for their precious time. I really appreciate it.
We'll see you on the weekend, my man. Bye.
All right, man. See you later.